And now it's time to sip the coffee and spill the tea on Talking with 3D Live. Here's your host, Derrick Dixon.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Talking with 3D Live right here on IRoseFilms. Listen, before we go any further, do me a big favor. Please go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and subscribe to my page now. All you have to do is click it, love it, share it, make sure that everybody knows about it, and then click the bell to make sure that you get all of the reminders of the great episodes that you have seen or the ones that you want to see in the future that are coming up. So please make sure that you subscribe to Talking with 3D Live. But today, I am so excited for everyone to be here and to be watching. You know, we always sip the coffee and spill the tea. So I have some good information for you today that we are going to be teaching, learning, everything, sharing information with those that want to be in the acting business. So this is a good show for you to be watching today. Get your pen, get your paper, because I have the casting director, Amy Lim, is here with me today. Amy, welcome to Talking with 3D.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Listen, I want to share a little bit with everybody of who you are and what you do. Amy Lim is a casting director, writer, producer. She's a momager. She's the creative force behind many hit shows airing on Discovery Channel, also Disney, MTV, the CW, Lifetime, A&E, also National Geographic, PBS, and Gen Z Media. She began her career as a news producer, and she's covered everything from the Red Sox to Obama, from Barack Obama. So I am really just to have you here on Talking with 3D is so exciting. So many things that you have done, Amy. So many, and especially as a news reporter. So as a news producer, reporter, you have covered so much and seen so much. So tell everybody just a little bit about who Amy Lim is.
Okay, well, I was born. Do I talk to you? Do I talk to you?
This is your camera right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in Baltimore, so this is where I'm from, my hometown, and I grew up thinking I wanted to be the next Katie Couric. So I went away to Syracuse University to study broadcast journalism. And so I started my career as a news producer. And I thought, you know, I'll move away and I'll work in all these small markets and I'll eventually make my way back to Baltimore. So I started in Springfield, Massachusetts. That was my little I had a map in my parents' house when I was graduating college, and I sent 150 VHS tapes of my reporting reel out to 150 news stations around the country. And I had a map, so I would put like a little sticker, a little peg, like all over the map. I was ready to go anywhere. So my first job ended up being not on air, but as a producer in Springfield, Massachusetts. That was my tiny little, first job. And I only ended up working there for 9 months, and then I got a job in Boston. Springfield is only about an hour and a half away from Boston. So I got a job there. And then I was like, wait a second. I just made it to this big giant market. I thought I was going to work my way up a little bit slower and then maybe get back to Baltimore, but I'm in Boston already. So I did that, and it was great. And I produced the weekend news and I produced the noon news in Boston, Massachusetts, and for a couple of years, and it was great. But I realized I didn't actually love news as much as I thought, even though I was doing cool things. I was like, but we cover a lot of snowstorms and weather. And I don't want to work every holiday and work every snowstorm. And it was weird being 22, 23 years old, out on my own and having to leave, my little apartment by myself at 2:00 in the morning to drive to work in a blizzard. To tell people to stay home?
There's a blizzard. And you know what's so funny that you say that, Amy, because there is it was all over Instagram, and there was this guy who was a news reporter, and it was like, Tom, we're coming to you to tell us about the news. About the weather.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. He was like, why am I out here to tell you that it's snowing when we all can see it's snowing, but you have me out here to tell everybody not to come out, but you sent me out.
Yeah.
So
it was like weird being 22, 23 years old and realizing that, like, why am I doing this? I mean, when we actually got into the journalism of things, like, it was cool, but the day to day, like the majority of what we had to do was like weather.
Why?
It was like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, and the weathermen are the most discredited people because we're like, we don't believe you.
Yeah.
You know, you say it's gonna, and then we'll go outside and say, see, I told you, it wasn't gonna be a blizzard, it wasn't gonna rain, it's a beautiful day out, we canceled everything, no school, no nothing, and because the weathermen said to stay inside. It's nothing.
So at some point in my 20s, I realized I don't want to do this forever. I don't want this to be my only skill set. You know, I was worried about like going 10, 20 years in that field and still not loving it, but then not knowing what else to do if that was all I ever did. So I was like, I don't think I want to do this. I think, but you know, I still love the TV and I still love journalism and meeting people and interviewing people and finding good stories and all that good stuff. So, so I was in Boston, but I was ready to leave and find something else. So I got this great role in Baltimore back at WJZ here in Baltimore, working at Channel 13, and I was the special projects producer. Okay. So we didn't have to do, so as the special projects producer, I didn't have to do the day-to-day.
Okay, you didn't have to go out.
The weather. I didn't have to do the weather. But we had to do the special feature pieces and the pieces that were more highly promoted and more highly produced and not just the like, we're throwing this on air, it's got to get on, you know, we have a deadline. You know, we had longer term deadlines and we would do special pieces and, you know, things that we worked up to a little bit more and more highly promoted and things like that. So it was like, it was more enterprise, you know, producing and writing and reporting and all that stuff. So that it was a really nice job because then I felt like the work we could be proud of when we put it on air. Because it was, you know, it wasn't put on in haste and forced to be done. So, you know, so that was a nice role. And then from there, I ended up talking with someone at Discovery Channel. It was, you know, Discovery Studios was the entity that I spent most of my time with when I worked for Discovery Channel. And they were the in-house production company within the Discovery Channel and the family of networks. And the person I was talking to said, okay, so for this job, you know, you're going to find good stories and find good people that are great on camera. And you can do that anywhere in the world. And I was like, you mean I can do it anywhere in the world, not like within a 1 hour drive of my news station, you know? But find interesting people and who have interesting stories. I can do that. That's what I do already, but I just have to do it within a 1 hour drive of my news. But you're saying I can do that in, you know, Zimbabwe or Madagascar and, you know, or Utah, you know, sure, I can do that. Yeah, that sounds great. So it was kind of the perfect role for me coming from as a journalist who was used to talking to people and finding people who were good on camera and good at telling stories and you know, editing them down so that they sounded good and, you know, everybody looks right on camera and all that good stuff. So I was able to like kind of use that role and transition into this television role where I was doing the same thing, scouting talent, finding, you know, great people, charismatic, you know, interviews and all that good stuff. So that's how I ended up in TV.
But I heard there's something that you said, if it was very interesting for me to read. It said, you like to interview people, especially in a way that makes them overlook the fact they're being interviewed.
Yeah.
What is that? Tell me.
So I mean, my role as a casting producer is always, and sometimes I work, you know, sometimes I work with actors and sometimes I work with real people. It depends if we're doing for a scripted show or not.
And what's harder?
Show. What's harder? Well,
because I know you have your actors. Of course, they have the do's, the don'ts, what you can't talk about, what I'm not going to talk about. Closing down on you, and then you get your average Joe on the street. And then they tell you too much. You know.
The average Joe on the street interviews are always very interesting because they turn out to be like really therapeutic for the person that you're talking to.
Makes you feel like
they have that moment.
My life is good.
They have that moment. It's not funny, but because it's like, oh my God, they just trusted me with this. But they have that moment where they're like, she asked me my life story and I got to talk about my grandmother.
Right.
I can't tell my life without talking about, and then they get, men start crying about their grandmother.
It's all emotional, and you're just like, here. Here you go.
Yeah. We're trying to do like a garage, like a car build show, and like
it's a garage sale. But go ahead, tell us about grandma's piece over here that you can't sell.
Yeah. But so talking to real people when we're honestly like, okay, tell me your story, tell me who you are, tell me what drives you, and that whole interview is not going on TV. We're just trying to find the nuggets. We're trying to find your character, who you are, like what for when we put you on TV.
Right.
But those interviews are long, and they go
because then you got to pick out, like you said, the nuggets.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is what we wanted, even though it took us 2 hours to get there. But we just wanted this 30-second piece of, I bet.
Yeah. And a lot of the casting and development that I do is sort of before the show gets on air. So we are finding out what's going to make this show tick and what's going to make this character, what is his storyline going to be throughout the course of the show. So I do need to learn all these things because I need to know, like, when we put, your wife with you, like, what are the things that are going to set you off, or like, what
are your triggers?
Yeah, what are your triggers? Like, so I need to know all those things.
Do we have to have people standing by if something happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So interviewing your celebrities, what is that? What does that entail? How do you have to prepare yourself? Because I know that's something completely different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just for me. I just don't. I treat everybody the same.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, who
what
you are,
level of celebrity you are, what you've done. I treat everybody the same. Yeah. So I mean, it's nice, and it's just nice to try to rein people back in, and make it feel like it's not an interview, that it is just a conversation, and we are just talking, and I do just want to get to know you, and tell me about that. What is that like?
So you covered Barack Obama's inauguration.
Yeah, the first one.
The first one.
Yeah. We slept, me and the news team from WJZ. I worked at WBZ in Boston and WJZ in Baltimore, so I always have to be careful when I'm speaking. The news team, we went down the night before the inauguration and slept in I don't even remember what building it was, but it's where I worked. It was CBS, so it was where CBS does all their live shots with like the Capitol in the backdrop.
Right.
And we went and we slept on the floor, like in this building, because you wouldn't be able to get to DC if you waited till morning to get there, because the traffic and the roads and everything was going to be shut down. So we had to go the night before, and we slept on the floor, and I used, my coat as like a little makeshift like sleeping bag. And, it was just so cool. We walked, and then we would walk the mall, just me and the reporters and the photographers, just kind of walk the mall and see people. And because people were doing that too. People were out there sleeping just because they wanted a place in history, tomorrow when this inauguration was going to happen. And it was cool. So we interviewed some people overnight and just chatted with the people that were around. And then the day of the inauguration, we were like on the rooftop of this building with the Capitol in the background. And I was the producer. So, I was just feeding information to the reporters that were on camera and the anchors that were on camera, and just whatever we could get. It's fun. It's really fun.
And I bet it was such an amazing feeling. Amazing feeling that you can never forget.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's again, I don't know how old I was, late 20s at that point, I guess, but still being like, who am I? Like what makes me like the person that deserves to be here? Like, that's cool. It was just such a cool feeling being like, I did this. I'm here.
Well, that's one of my dreams. So, Kamala Harris, that's one of my dreams, for you to be sitting right here, where Amy is sitting, and to have that opportunity. But just to be a part of history, that's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
Let's shift our gears a little bit
Okay.
because there's a lot of our people that are listening, that are watching and everything that want to get into acting. Let me ask you this real quick too, because I want people to understand this, the difference between casting director and casting agent.
I don't even know what a casting agent is. I
Okay.
don't think that that's a real thing. And that word gets thrown around a lot, or
It
that
does.
term. And I
Yes.
don't think that's a real thing. There's
Because I think back in the day, and not to interrupt you, but I think back in the day, a lot of people would get kind of bamboozled
yeah.
by that word casting agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and forgive me if there are people who actually define themselves as casting
Yeah,
agent.
because we're not
You're
saying
able
that's
to
not your,
Yeah.
that's not
So,
your job.
but I think that there's a line between an agent and a casting director. So
Okay.
an agent runs an agency and they represent talent. Like,
Gotcha.
and a lot of people will email me as a casting director and say, "Will you represent me?" That's not what I do. I'm not an agent. I'm a casting director. I place people in roles, but agents represent people and they pitch to me.
Gotcha.
So it's a different role.
Yeah. And I'm glad we define that because a lot of people don't understand the difference, like you said, do we still have casting agents? You're a casting director. You place people in the roles of films, commercials, whatever, casting director. So please make sure when you are going somewhere, when they say casting agent, you're going to someone that represents you. Casting director, someone that's going to place you in those roles.
Right. The agents pitch to the casting director.
Casting director.
Yep. And so the agents, they can't control what roles you have or don't have, but they're there to advocate on your behalf and get you the connection and get you in front of the casting directors. But it's a different role.
Can someone get into these, get in front of you without having a casting agent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's not a requirement at all. There are bigger, probably the scale of the project, the bigger the project, some of them will put out their casting calls to agencies only because they want they want a talent pool that's already screened by someone.
Okay.
So some, films the general public can't see their casting calls because only agents get those. So if you will only have access to those if you are represented by an agency. But if most of we live in Maryland, so most of my casting calls are accessible to everyone. I don't just cast in Maryland. I can cast anywhere. I can do New York projects or projects anywhere. But yeah, most of the casting calls that I personally do are available to anybody. You can pitch through your agent or through yourself, whatever.
So we met at Parker Acting Up, and they had the workshop, Elevate. And so I thought it was such a great meeting you there because there was so much information. We had 10 minutes to get this information. It was like speed dating.
Yeah.
And we had to go around and meet and get everybody in. But thank you to Kristen and Walter that put that together. But it was so great meeting you there because we did get so much more information. And that I would not have thought. And a lot of do's and don'ts that you gave us that was so important. One thing I think of people is when you send in a picture and it's filtered, it's got the dog in the background, the cat, the kids in the background. So let's talk about the don'ts first. What are the don'ts when there is a roll-up and you have the specifications of what the person you're looking for, age, race, gender, and bam, what do you get?
I am in the thick of this right now for the show that I'm casting, and it is driving me crazy that I don't know. I see it both ways because I'm casting a specific look because right now I'm in the middle of casting a true crime show, dramatic recreations for a true crime show that's on a TV network.
Okay.
And so for dramatic recreations, we need to find the lookalike of the real person. The lookalike, the doppelganger. Yeah. The replica of the real person.
Right.
So I put the, in my casting calls, I put the description of what I need this person to look like. And, they need to have a certain hairstyle, a certain body type, a certain skin color, just all those things are very specific. It's not, I'm not discriminating against anyone else.
Right.
I just need this person.
This is who did it. This is the person that did the crime. We need you to look like that person.
Yes. And so people will, all day, all week, people have been submitting and they send me their headshot. And then it's like, if I don't know you, I don't trust you. I don't.
Right.
So, so then I'll say, send me another photo of what you look like right now. Or, if I'm really interested, send me your audition, send me your self-tape audition. And then they come, and that's my test. That is my test to see if they really look, because the self-tape audition, they have to tape today.
Right.
They can't have tape. They can't send me something from, 2 months ago or whatever. And they're totally different. Like their hair is totally different. Their style is totally, like their hairstyle, their length, their color, like it's totally different. It's like, are you trying to catfish me into casting you? I don't understand.
Yeah.
We're not going to make it the whole way.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to find out what you look like. But
if you show up or not, we're going to know what you look like.
Yeah.
So when you walk in the door, we're going to be like, no.
But it keeps happening, and I don't understand why, people think that that's a good idea, because it's bad for your career, and it's waste. I mean, it wasted my time, and it wasted your time doing the audition that you just sent me. So
you're in their name now, like you said, it's not good for you as an actor. And now when you say, I don't trust you, because now every single time your name pops up, push it aside. Because you already tried to catfish me. So it's time to move on.
Yeah, exactly. It's and then, just having a lot of people have, used the casting, like the database sites like Backstage or Casting Networks. Make sure those photos are up to date, because I like sometimes I put my casting calls on there and wait for you to come to me, and sometimes I search the demographic that I'm looking for, and then I might reach out to someone for a casting call that I haven't even posted yet. I might and then I find out that you're not who
it is.
Your profile shows. Yeah. So keep your it means totally fine to change your look, but change your photos then too, because you might be missing, like you might have, the hairstyle that I'm looking for, but your picture's an old one. Right. Well, I didn't find you in this round, because it goes both ways. You might miss something because
you're not keeping it updated.
You're not keeping it updated, and then we might waste time going down a road because you don't look like what I thought you looked like. Yeah. So, yes, and it just blows my mind that it just keeps happening.
I'll tell you something that's funny too, is that I sent in a picture for an AARP commercial, and they were like, no, because I've seen it in a couple times. They're like, I need someone that looks 55. You don't look like 55. Stop sending me your picture. And I took it as a compliment, but it's so funny because of the fact that, people keep saying, show them your ID. It's not the age that matters. It's the look, that matters.
What's the 55 look like?
Yeah, right. What's the 55 look like now? 55 is different now.
Right.
So it's funny that you have to have, and people need to understand that. You have to have the look.
Yeah.
Don't try to make it seem like, well, I lived in Boston. We're not looking for someone who lives in Boston. We're looking for someone that did something.
Right.
In Boston.
I mean, so much depends on. I mean, the acting quality is important for sure.
Yes.
It is going to get you over the finish line, but in most cases, it's like the demographic that gets you in the the small list of final considerations.
Right.
And that's just the way it goes. I mean, like you mentioned, I'm a momager. So my daughters act and are submitted for things all the time and up for things. And my daughter is half Asian, half Caucasian. So she has a look. She could kind of fit with an Asian family. She could kind of fit with a Caucasian family. She could fit with a mixed race family. So it's always interesting to see, and And for most at her age, she's young, she's 7. So she's always going to be cast as the kid in the family. That's, that's
Right.
pretty much why they need her. It's to be in a family.
Right.
So they have to cast that whole family. It's not just her, so it doesn't just matter on her acting.
Right.
They also have to cast a mom and a dad that look.
Everybody has to blend.
Everybody has to blend together. And, sometimes she falls into like a Caucasian family. Sometimes she falls into a Asian family. And sometimes she falls into a mixed race family. But it all depends on, so all those actors, matter.
Wow.
And they might have like a whole little package that they're trying to put together, but they're considering a whole different looking family over here that doesn't involve her or either of these actors or the brother. So it just, so the look matters.
Right.
It's and yes, your acting is important also, but the look is pretty much what gets, and it doesn't matter what that look is. It can be anything. There's a place for any look.
For everybody. Right.
Yeah. So but it's just important to accurately represent yourself
and not sit here and do something totally different. Important. So listen, we could go on and on and on, but I think there's just the information that given is just so important, so important. And Amy, I'm going to have to bring you back. Because we're going to have to talk some more, because there's so many people that want to get into the acting business and stuff. And just real quickly, give me 3 good do's when you are submitting a resume or your pictures.
Okay. We covered the first one is do accurately represent yourself. Do make sure that your picture represents your current look.
Right.
Do follow directions. If I ask for, a specific photo, if the casting call asks for specific photo, headshot, full body shot, profile, send those in.
Send it in.
Send in what it asks for.
Right.
Because that is all part of the casting process is, can you follow directions? Because I'm screening you all along the process. Can you follow directions? Are you trustworthy? Are you meeting my deadlines in this process? Because I need to know that you're ultimately, whoever we cast, whoever we book in the role is going to show up to set on time and be professional. Because if I get a funny feeling along the process, that this person has never replied. Some people send in emails and I don't know what their name is. Like it's just a photo and it's an obscure like email address.
Right.
And, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Like, do you realize you haven't included your
haven't
name?
even told us who you are. Yeah.
So just, be professional like all along the way, because it's all part of the screening process.
Okay.
One more do. Let's see. Do be professional and do realize that.
And come ready to work.
Yeah.
Come ready to work. It could be an hour, it could be 10 hours, but come ready to work.
Yeah.
Because this is what you will have to do and this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Amy, we're going to play a little quick game.
Okay.
I always love a good game on Talking with 3D. But we're not going to do, I won't do your hard game. So we're going to do Never Have I Ever.
Okay.
I love this game. It's one of my favorites. So you have your paddle. So on one side I have. The other side I have never.
Okay.
All right, so I have some questions. So I kind of picked these questions out, but I made them kind of easy. So this is a question because I always thought this is funny. Laughed while watching someone in my family get hurt. Now, that is not, say, a car accident or something like that, but let's just say this. Have you ever gone to a funeral and laughed? I will say that I have. And this is the reason that I have. Because the pastor kept calling the deceased person the wrong name. And we were almost underneath the pews, dying. No problem. We were laughing so hard because, and finally, the deceased family kept saying, "His name is Ralph." So that was hilarious.
I definitely have a dry sense of humor, and I'm the one that likes to say the slide comments under my breath in serious situations.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Stalked a celebrity, so you can meet them in person. I don't think I've ever really stalked them. Well, you know what? I think I have. I used to be a flight attendant, and I would know, like, say there was Cher in the airport one day, and I actually kind of, got her bags, act like I was her personal, assistant, took her bags down to the gate and everything. So that was kind of stockish. Stockish.
I guess my closest one would be my favorite show is So You Think You Can Dance. I mean, it just is. It's a matter of fact, it's my favorite show.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity with one of my shows to go to the Emmys in LA, and the whole So You Think You Can Dance cast was there, all the choreographers and everything, who I just heart them so much. So just, on the dance floor, I was just making sure I was just close to them.
Right. See, that's a good one though.
Just feeling like I was sharing the same space.
Excuse me. Can you sign this, by the way? Get that good selfie. Okay, last question. Have you ever played a game on your phone while pretending to look busy while something important was going on? So say you were in a meeting and you were on the phone. And I know I have done it so many times.
I'll say I never. I don't do the phone game, so not that. I mean, certainly scrolling and reading, whatever to look busy, absolutely. But not games.
Yeah. Well, Amy, thank you so much. For coming to Talking with 3D. It was such a pleasure.
Yes,
meeting you. And again, we got to do this again. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, once again, for information, we're going to put the information on our page for Amy, and for you to follow her to get information on different shows or things that she's looking for. But again, do the work. Make sure that you're doing the research. Make sure you're doing it right. Making sure that you represent yourself well. That's what you need to do if you want to get into this business. But listen, we want to thank you so much. Again, go to my YouTube page, subscribe right now, click it, love it, share it. And we're always here every Monday to sip the coffee and to spill the tea. Thank you for showing up, and go out and love somebody intentionally. Thank you. Have a good day.